I don't usually comment on rappers, but when I do, it has some reference to Curtis Blow. Now, to be more serious, today's rap drama involves, yes, the recent killing of another rapper. Now, I don't usually talk about this stuff, but a lot of people don't know, and they think that it sounds crazy to talk about rappers being killed, and then it ties into something like Illuminati, blood rituals, and so forth. Now, this, again, to most people just sounds crazy because they don't realize what's going on in the world. Now, if you just saw my cannibalism video, then you know that I can document pretty well the real trends that the system promotes like this. And another thing that people don't realize is that there's a direct connection between something like the idea of the Illuminati and the idea of the mob or mafias. Now, we know there's a lot of different mafias in history, and that the mob has had a lot of influence in places like Hollywood and the music industry. So what most people forget, though, is if you watch a movie like Goodfellas, or if you watch a movie like The Godfather, based on Mario Puzo's stories of real mob interactions, you'll know that there is the idea that you have to be a made man by killing someone. And that's very real. If you look into the history of the rituals of the Sicilian mafia, they're based on Masonic occult rituals. It involves skulls, it involves human blood, and oaths are made to the organization. Now, that's the same as what we see in places like Hollywood and the music industry. So it shouldn't be surprising that this stuff is real. Now, there's a lot of beef that's always going on in rap circles and drama, but it also ties in at times to drug deals. And I just want to remind you, and if this sounds too crazy, remember, there have been numerous books like The Money and the Power that have been written about the influence of the mafia all throughout the music industry and the movie industry. And it's no different when we come to something like rap music, all the way back to Suge Knight, all the way back to Tupac, Biggie Smalls, right? Drugs as a Weapon Against Us. My publisher publishes this great book on the history of the infiltration and usage and bringing down of musicians and controlling musicians and pop stars through drugs and through FBI COINTEL operations. So this also ties into the mafia. In fact, the CIA pretty much co-opted the mafia in the last 50 years. That's why the mafia doesn't really run things anymore. Rather, the top mafia, the real mafia, which controls the arts, the CIA. If you remember, as I've exposed many times and will be in my book, Esoteric Hollywood 2, you can get my book below, Esoteric Hollywood, where I talk about all this in the various industries in depth, and I document it with 404 footnotes. In the Cultural Cold War, another academic treatise on this, the CIA basically completely took over the arts during the Cold War. That was one of their main goals, was to control the arts and to control the musicians. And the Cold War was one of the greatest ways to do that. And that's why the CIA fostered occult, degenerate, abstract, disgusting artwork. So this is very easy to document in a lot of different books. And when I see a news headline about the murder or the possible ritual murder of somebody like an Anthony Bourdain or a big time rapper, I'm not surprised, because I think this is how the real world really works. And this is why I've written books on it. This is why I talk about this quite often. It's because you have different mafias that run different music industries, different industries like entertainment, Hollywood, and they will have people assassinated and killed at different times if they cross the wrong person, they don't live up to their obligations, they're involved in other deals like drugs or whatever on the side. It's all very real. In fact, the CIA and the FBI have long been involved in infiltrating and using gangs. Now, we all know gangs play into the world, right, of rap music, Crips and the Bloods and so forth. But that's all been co-opted and used as well to create and foster division and to control which cartels do and don't have the right to sell the drugs. So when we look at something like Fast and Furious, this is the idea behind this is that the American power structure will make a deal with certain cartels to the exclusion of other cartels. This actually explains a lot in terms of black markets in the world, the CIA running the drugs and so forth. Iran-Contra, if you think back to that example. So nothing should be surprising, actually, about the idea that, yes, there can be Illuminati blood sacrifices, but it all depends on what you mean. It's not the Illuminati in the sense of the 1700s in Bavaria, right, with Adam Weishaupt. But there is a rough, loose connection to that in the sense of these industries are all run by very powerful people, and they can have people put to death. That is real, and it does happen at times. So there have been multiple cases in the history of rap music, right, where people have been offed, people have been killed. And so I would say that it's not just insane or crazy as a conspiracy theory. It's actually very plausible that in many cases people are offed as part of becoming a made man. And once you've offed someone and shown your loyalty to the gang or to the industry, you can rise to a certain level because they have the dirt on you. And that's, I think, how the real world really works.